No, we took the long view. We started with the caves of Lascaux and writing systems and the Middle Ages and documents and document forgeries and print and the implication of print and that long 17th century where nothing technologically seemed to be happening but newspapers and dictionaries and all these scientific societies and all these things were taking place. And then we came to the telegraph and photography and broadcast and so on and so forth, all leading up to this. It's not the march of human progress necessarily. I like this figure at the bottom. It's not clear if he progressed or not. But it is the march of complexity in terms of trying to do the history of these things and understand what's going on. Because by the time we come to the internet, all of the issues that we've been raising, the relationship in particular of technology to the social, political, economic, cultural background which is taking place, those issues get very, very complicated. And they're the ones we're living right now. Before I start, though, let's do a puzzler. We haven't done one of those in a while. What is the significance of the woodchuck to the history of the World Wide Web? You probably either know this, but it would be hard to guess if you didn't know it. The significance of the woodchuck to the history of the world. If you're puzzled, you don't know. Right? It's not something you guess. Nobody did the reading? Yeah, and you're name. Jeremy, yes. Right, that was Tangler. It was an early system that Berners-Lee had built when he went to CERN. That's close enough for a bumper sticker. Proud parents of an IS 103 differences. It's worth all that increased tuition. That one of the things about, I'll talk about this later now. One of the interesting things I think about the Berners-Lee readings, for those who did it, those who didn't do it, I can't help you, is that it reminds you how in the early days of these technologies, whether at CERN or at Xerox PARC, where Paul and I were, but not quite in the golden age, more in the silver age that followed it, or in the development of the ARPANET and TCP/IP and so on and so forth. This was a really small, fairly intimately connected community of people with a particular interest in these issues. It's hard now that the web and the internet have become these vast expanses all over the world to remember that, how it would not remember, but to understand how it must have been at that point. About Xerox PARC in the early days, where Alan Kay and Charles Simonyi and Bob Metcalf and all these people were located, it was said that, and Eric Schmidt, it was said that half of the best computer scientists in the world were in that building. That will never be said of anywhere ever again. It was very small. And because of that, when you went online, for example, I mean, I had an ARPANET. Did you have an ARPANET address, Paul? I had an ARPANET address. You assumed that ARPANET, anybody else who had an ARPANET address was somebody like you. That they were, because they had to be at UCLA or the Department of Defense or Stanford or something like that. And they weren't in the English department or the French department. ARPA had, they were in some technical discipline or discipline right next to it. And so there was a very intimate sense about it. And that's something that persists as new iterations of the technology are developed. At the early days of Facebook, you think, for example, it's a bunch of people at Harvard, and then it's a bunch of people at Harvard and Yale and Columbia, students at Harvard, and then it's a bunch of high school students, and then finally it's just everybody in the world. But there's an important shift over the history of these technologies that isn't really reflected in the histories you read, from these intimate, personal, trusting networks to these much larger networks where all kinds of social problems are arising because of the heterogeneity of the users and the lack of those personal connections. In any event, what we want to talk about today is what is the internet or the internets. Second, the technological bases of the internet and the World Wide Web. And we're not going to spend too much time on that. We'll probably spend more time than we should. And then the effects of the internet. The effects of the internet, it would be very easy to do a course, 3 courses, 5 courses on all of the ways in which this technology or these technologies have affected. From year to year, we change the topics we do, but that's what we'll be talking about. I guess the next 3 after today will all be about the effects of the internet, mostly social and economic. In particular, I want to do today, just because it's something I worked on and I've actually come back to lately looking at after like 12, 15 years after I first became interested in it, this question of the effect of the internet on languages and how the internet spreads through these diverse and heterogeneous linguistic communities and how it's used differently and what the effects are. Recall that, and we did this with photography, and so we did this with photography and other technologies. There's this difficult question always of saying what technology is. We talk about technologies as these individuated things, either very big or nowadays very small. Great advances in razor blade technology or sunglass technology. It's hard to read look at without hearing the word used that way. But it's also fairly arbitrary, at least from a purely material or technical point of view, to say what defines the technology. Are radio and telegraph the same technology? Well, they were at the point at which they were thought of as radio, which is thought of as wireless telegraphy. And then radio, when it becomes broadcast, is split off and matched with other things ultimately like television and so on. Are television and the cinema the same technology? Well, we don't think of them as being the same technology, but they're both devices for distributing or diffusing moving images to a large public. And we also include photography, which is like those, except it involves still images rather than moving images. Those divisions are not there in the world, and they're not there in the material basis of the stuff either. They're stuff that are socially created around the uses, the economic background, the function, and the technologies themselves in the narrow sense, the physical stuff that are involved. So suppose then we come to the question of what is the internet or what is the World Wide Web in particular. This was a story, everybody saw this story where Facebook bought, what's it called? Yeah, Instagram. A few days ago, this young man who was, I think, 27, Stanford graduate, participated in this $1 billion. I fully expect 5 or 6 years, and that's all the time you've got, because this guy's 27, he's already out there. The next 5 or 6 years, one of you, I will be able to say, oh yeah, that guy just made $2 billion selling whatever. He took, or she took 103. So we got a C+. No. So this was the story in the Times about that, which was the lead story on the front page, the upper right hand of the front page. Let me read it. The question, what struck me as I was reading this, other than the significance of what the Times took to be the significance, which I think is real, is that the mobile market has now become as important or primary to the web market. That's what. So somebody got $1 billion for an application whose entire web presence is restricted to a single web page in which you can click and download the app. That's it. Right. That's all they're doing. And in fact, until recently, it was only on the Mac. I think it was only on the Apple. It wasn't available on for Android and the other operating systems. So what interested me was the fact that they presumed the distinction between mobile and the web in the way they talked about this. The path for internet startup used to be quite clear: establish a presence on the web first, then come up with a version for mobile devices. And now they're saying, who needs the web? the Instagram deal looks like something like a turning point, even as the web giant Facebook tries to get a better grasp on a market that requires thinking old rules. For decades, somebody's quoted the Cinder computer computing it to the desktop, and software was modeled after the experience of using a typewriter, now, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that's all true. I mean, I don't think there's anything there that one has to quibble with. But what does the web mean to this person? And why is Instagram not a web application? Michael, you?
Well, I mean, the web presence is actually more than just a page that we download apps, so that's a problem. But I think the main thing is that the idea for the web versus an app, this is actually probably going to go back the other way, I think, in a few years, away from mobile applications, is that when you have your application is restricted to something that is just on that device, and that for the most part doesn't really talk to anything else. And the Instagram kind of works like another internet page, and when you use the app, you can share other things, and it actually is just like a web page with an app. But it doesn't feel like that to the normal user because you don't have any of the connections that you do, and you can't just go from Instagram to Google really easily. You have to close Instagram, open up a web browser, go to Google, and so it creates that more disconnected experience that makes it feel like something.
So you feel like this thing is that this app is just running on your it might as well be a standalone computer. So mobile doesn't have to do with it from your point of view. The fact it's only incidentally that this happens to be on mobile. But so the distinction they're making between mobile and the web is really the way you would do it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Anybody else have a thought about that? What makes the web, and why is Instagram, for example, to this writer? I mean, we're not talking about the facts of the matter. Just this writer presumes, and I think most people presume that that's how things are. Yeah. So he said the keyboard. Somehow the keyboard seems a crucial part of it. And then the iPad, when you've got the virtual keyboard, you know. So, but if you put a keyboard on it, it's the web now, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. And remind me, it's Sophia. Yes, of course.
Also, the
I'm sorry.
by Instagram.com. So you have to have a website, which Instagram does, but you can't access any regular functionality.
So that's interesting. So it has to go through, it has to have a name of that form, which is then handed to a domain, a name server, and the name server looks at Instagram.com and says, oh, it gives you an IP number 3.5.7.9, and it takes you someplace. And if you're not getting there via that mechanism, you're not on the web anymore. You might be starting here, going to the same place, but the highway, or actually the driving directions are crucial. That's a very interesting way to think about it. Any other? Yeah.
Well, just when you're using Instagram, you sync it to your account and on different web pages. So I'm not sure how that will be part of the web anyway. It's like my Instagram syncs to another page
So you say, look, this is the web. I mean, from your point of view, you're talking to Tumblr, you're talking. I just have to how many people here use Instagram? Wow. Okay. How many people used it a year ago? Wow. Oh, Sophia's at the leading edge, early adapter. There was Michael had one point to make.
No, I was say, like, I think that's especially for Instagram, is that I think it really depends on how you use Instagram as an app. It really depends on how you think of it, because it is a small, relatively contained app, but it is diverse enough, and that the use cases for an individual person are very different in how they share images. I think that really changes the way you think of it, because if you use Instagram just as a photo viewer to follow people or to connect with Twitter, if you click on a link to Instagram on Twitter, even if you're on a desktop computer, then it opens a web page to view that photo. And so if you're using it primarily as a photo viewer, then you don't. It's very hard to make a distinction where it isn't on the web, because that functionality is available to you, but the rest of it is different share photos. But many people do use it as a way to view.
Right. So again, for you, the distinction isn't as this writer assumes. It depends how it's used. It may be web, it may not be web, and so I think the answer is to all of these is yes or no. Right? That is to say, web and mobile for this writer involve a kind of prototypical instance in each case. You know, Google's the web, Angry Birds is not the web or something. And in between, there's this space, and you don't really have to work it out. It's just kind of shorthand and so on. But it indicates just how complicated and in many cases confused all of these notions, web and internet and mobile and so on, are. And one of the problems in talking about this stuff is just knowing what you're talking about. What makes for technology? In the case of the internet, if you go to a certain well-known, infallible source of conventional wisdom, that is to say Wikipedia, they're never wrong about what the conventional wisdom is. That's what you have to understand. They say, and this is the definition you'll get, and the interesting thing about Wikipedia is the technical definition, the technical articles, the problem with technical articles, they tend to be written too technically. What Britannica understands that Wikipedia doesn't is that when you're looking up some pharmaceutical product, you do not need to know the chemical composition and so on. You want to know about the side effects and so on. And their articles about technical items tend to be written by people who know too much and are too proud of knowing too much. Suppose there are articles about, say, Daniel Defoe, which Paul, are you talking about that? Or do you? No, okay. Paul has written scathingly of his experiences with Wikipedia, trying to correct the article on Daniel Defoe, finding, I'll tell the story, I tell it much better than you do it. Finding 5 errors in the first 2 sentences of the article on Daniel Defoe, having a 6-month exchange of communications with the other people who contributed to the piece, and at the end having the first 2 sentences with 7 errors in them. So, in any event, the Wikipedia says the internet is a global system of interconnected computer networks linked that use the standard Internet Protocol suite, TCP/IP, to serve billions of users worldwide. It is a network of networks that consists of millions and so on and so forth. That's the standard definition. It's the definition you'll get if you take any course in this stuff. Say that's what the internet is. When the argument arose a few years ago about whether to capitalize the internet or not, and we'll talk about it at the end, but Wired announced we're not going to capitalize the internet anymore. There was a big discussion. Everybody said, well, the internet is just a network of networks of networks, as if the origins of this term in technology are determinative of how we think of it now. This is, in fact, a map of that visualization of the internet. The Opti project, very interesting. They do these interesting visualizations, and this is a visualization of some chunk of it with the links colored according to where they are, and so on. I have no idea what exactly the relationship is. But that's the picture of this definition. Well, it's also a question of devices, right? I mean, how do we talk to the internet? When we talk about the internet, how do we get to it? Well, your typical archetypal case is your desktop or your laptop. And then there's a smartphone. I mean, Hello Web. There is, right, written right on somebody's iPhone 3. There are on the lower left. I bet somebody here can tell me exactly which those are, what those are, and which they are. Somebody's not admitting that to be a game aficionado, but those are handheld, internet-enabled game players. You got your from your television. Obviously, you go to the internet. You can get all these things, not just movies, but you can log on to Wikipedia and so on. In the middle, anybody see the story? Know what those are in the middle? And see that story? What are they? Yeah, we're going to be walking into walls. Right? It's not a world I want to live in. It's certainly not a world I want to be driving around. Samsung's internet-enabled vacuum cleaner, automatic robotic vacuum cleaner. Your internet-enabled washing machine. Anybody have an idea why you might want an internet? Michael.
Well, so the washing machines in the dorms at Cal are actually internet connected now. And so the reason that's great is that you can get a text message with your clothes are done, and you don't have to think about it.
Now, listen to that bing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it actually said that.
Yeah, and it makes sense in a way because you've got a lot of people using those machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one reason they have richer functionalities than that. Anybody have an idea what the... You can download, I just looked at them, I didn't know this. You can download programs. You know, I'm washing a blue cashmere sweater from Bloomingdale's that I bought 2 years old, and it'll set everything up in exactly the right way. Your internet-enabled treadmill. Seen these? So, you know, I think today I'll run from the Champs-Élysées to the Place des Vosges in Paris. You know, you set that up and you know. And your internet-enabled credit card, which I guess is not out there yet, but will be soon, which, you know, you can shake it or whatever, and it'll say, you know, you're $7,000 behind the wheel or whatever. So all of these, in some sense, define the domain of the technology, the range of places and tools and devices it's used on. But you can also think of the variety of content that people access via the internet, which can range from, you know, YouTube to all those apps that, according to the New York Times, aren't part of the web. But how are you going to get them other than by the internet? Or Google Books, Fathoms of Forgiveness is yesterday was announced as a new Kindle, whatever. I can't even see what these things are. Those TV shows again, news, email, of course, e-commerce. And, you know, we could sit here for the next 40 minutes enumerating more things that of different sorts that come to us via the internet. And when people say, you know, I went on the internet to find out whatever, how much did that cost, or when was he elected, or questions like that, when you talk about the internet, you're not so much talking about this network of networks as this body of stuff, maybe you're talking about the web as well, this body of stuff of content that's sitting somewhere and that you can access via one of these devices. So what is the internet? Maybe we shouldn't talk about the internet at all. I don't know how many people remember this remark of Bush's. This was 2004. You were on average, you know, just learning to skateboard.
Thanks. I hear there's rumors on the internets.
Everybody remember that? Anybody? The internets, Bush's internets. He got a lot of flack for that, but I think he's quite right. Right? I mean, why are we talking about the internet? Right? It's used in a lot of different ways. It refers to a lot of different things. Why don't we just talk about the internet? Certainly, we should be capitalizing no more than we capitalize radio or television when we use it to refer to a medium. And in fact, there's this real question as to what it is. Is it a technology? Is it this network? Is it a set of applications that involve connecting to this network? A channel? Is it a bunch of media? YouTube, audio, video, text, all the different things that are out there in the content? Is it a place? And that's certainly a way a lot of people tend to think of the internet as a place. You know, on the internet, nobody knows you're a dog is the old expression, but the idea is there's this place, the internet, and wherever it is. And what's interesting about this picture is when you see representations of the internet, it's always night. It's always dark in the back. I don't know why that is, but it has to do, I think, with the carryover from the Star Trek, you know, the TV show, this idea that you're floating around in space and it's dark. When you just look at internet in the Google image thing, you get all these images of that when it's always night. So is it a place? And the answer is yes. Again, it's all of those. Paul actually used this on a slide. I assume you're talking about Tocqueville when you put that on that phrase on your slide. Yeah, Tocqueville, Baron de Tocqueville, the Frenchman who came to the United States in the 1930s, wrote this very influential book, Democracy in America, described in another book, described the French Revolution as a vast unintended consequence. Well, that's fair to say that of the internet as well. So we've been making, as we talk about these things in an effort to make sense of them, these diagrams, charts, graphs, whatever they are, where we talk about inventions, the technology, the applications, and then the media. So photography comes out of pre-photography and these early efforts to create images that could be fixed, and collodion, where you can do dry plate, and later techniques and stuff. All of those contribute to this thing, photography. That then is used in a number of applications for official records and journalism and art and science and so on and so forth, each of which has further sub-applications to different areas like visiting cards and snapshots and commemorative, if you're talking about consumer photography and so on. Similarly for radio and TV broadcasting, we talk about all of the Tesla coil, Marconi's coil, all these early inventions that together created this technology, which then has these applications, point-to-point, as in ship-to-shore, broadcast, as in commercial radio, remote control of your model airplane, etc., as in etc., which then are divided into cellular telephony, what you use when you when you pull down, when you make a phone call via Wi-Fi, advisories, shortwave, and so on. And each of those then are divided into further things, top 40 radio, middle of the road radio, and so on. Paul tried to do this for the computer. I thought this was really valiant, right? I mean, to try to impose this structure on the computer. I thought it came out fairly. I was very impressed as I looked at how do you figure that out? But, you know, he had the clock, and Paul likes to go way back, right? You know, so opposing thumbs, he would put there. The clock, the loom, the vacuum tube, and all these things that create the computer that then has these applications to calculate and record and communicate and so on. The media, all the places where the computer can live. Did you tell the story about this? It's about Mark Weiser's, Brian Smith's story about how many. Yeah, Brian Smith was a colleague of ours who was running the high school, a philosopher, computer science, running the high school at Toronto for a while, and he made this point. He talked about disappearing computers, ubiquitous computation, the point where computers are all over, we don't even notice it. And he sat there, this was some years ago, he said, you know, there are 21 computers in my Saab. Is that right? No, 21, no, sorry, I got it all wrong. He was talking about the way the electric motor disappeared. In the same way, so there are 21 electric motors in my Saab. They run the windows and the seats and the cassette deck and so on and so forth. But I don't think the Saab is an application of electric motor technology. And in the same way, the computer and the chip and the internet kind of vanish into the background. So you're not going to think of your washing machine, even when you can download all that stuff, as an application of internet technology. It's just there in the background. Anyway, Paul did a heroic job on this. I tried to do it for the internet. Well, I mean, the obvious place to start is you talk about these things like TCP/IP and packet switching, which Paul, you did talk about packet switching twice, because I missed the computer class.